Don't try this at home.
We've got years of experience that keeps us safe.
It's a Myths Revisited special.
This may look like a salami, but it's rocket fuel.
As the team goes head-to-head with disgruntled viewers. First, they're resetting their sights on splitting an arrow.
He hit this dead on.
Then, the bullet into water myth sinks to a new depth. And finally,
Whoa!
the famous Confederate rocket gets a meat makeover.
Damn, I'm lighting salamis, man. I'm making a rocket out of meat.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage
Ants are all over my head, man.
and Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara,
Go get him, boy.
Tori Belleci,
Whoa!
and Carrie Byron.
That was crazy!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
So we're about to do one of my all-time favorite things we do on the show, which is a revisit episode. And I mean, no other show that I know of ever comes to a conclusion that they are willing to reverse upon further investigation. And every time we do this, I think we come up with even better results and we silence our critics.
I don't know. I think it's just a lot of whining. What do we have up this time?
Bullets fired into water's a good one.
Bullets fired into water. We also have, come on.
Confederate rocket?
Confederate rocket.
Okay.
And there's one more.
The most controversial, I have to say, has got to be splitting an arrow.
The amount of vitriol in my mailbox about that one is just crazy. So are we going to silence them this time?
Not only did we get it right the first time, but this time we're going to make you sure of it.
Well, in that case, splitting an arrow seems like a good place to start. In Robin Hood, Errol Flynn made it look so easy.
He split Philip's arrow.
A split from nock all the way to tip. And a split second later, the crowd went ballistic.
Yep, ready? Yep.
But when the Mythbusters emulated Errol, their long shots were a bit of a long shot.
Nice grouping, Grant.
So they did a point-blank test, which still didn't seal the deal.
That happened.
But according to viewers, the team used the wrong bow, the wrong arrowheads, the wrong arrow shafts. The fans think it's still possible.
Well, let's do it their way this time. We'll take all of their advice, and in addition, we'll have our researchers dig up information on making our own arrows in the period materials, in the way that they did it at that time, and see what happens.
So for this revisit, our sharpshooters are going to listen to the fans as they build fully authentic medieval arrows, starting with the shafts. According to a Friar Tuck load of fans, to split an arrow, it must be made of perfectly straight-grained timber. And would you believe it? One viewer has donated the perfect piece.
Our wood was sent to us all the way from British Columbia. From Boards by George, he hand-picked out every one of these pieces to have the straightest possible grain, instead of just telling us we did it wrong.
I love it too.
Good old George. But what is it that makes this cedar so special?
As you can see, it's splitting all the way down the length of the wood. If we make arrows out of this is going to be our best chance of splitting an arrow.
An arrow that has the grain running straight through it is, so the fans reckon, ideal. Which means that Tori and Grant can get to grips with how to fire them.
Here on Mythbusters, we like to reinvent the wheel, and apparently we chopped up our last robotic arrow firing machine to save space in the shop. So we need to build it again.
The guys thought this myth was so busted that they busted their ArrowBot. So now they've got to make it anew. But ArrowBot 2 will be slightly different so that it can fire a more authentic Robin Hood-type weapon.
We've gone from using a compound bow to a longbow, which is more traditional. We're trying to, keep the circumstances the way they would be if you were, splitting an arrow.
And talking of arrows, Carrie's adding the finishing touches. Carrie's adding the finishing touches.
I'm preparing the fletching for the arrows. It is the little feathery end of the arrows that keep it steady in flight. From the reference material we have, it looks as though in the Middle Ages that the feathers that would have been used would have been goose or possibly peacock or swan, most commonly goose.
While Carrie has a gander at the fletchings, Tori's getting to the sharp end. There's one final thing to finish these firers, strengthening the nock.
So what I've got here is a goat horn, and the idea is that you put a split in the arrow and take a sliver of this horn, put it in there, and whip a string around to reinforce.
The reinforced goat nock is the last addition to make the arrows completely Robin Hood compatible. But ironically, this may actually hinder the arrow split attempt. A perfectly straight-grained cedar arrow may well split when hit dead on, but the goat horn in a traditional arrow could be so hard that it might block the path of the fired flyer to make a split impossible. But historical accuracy is what viewers wanted, so the strengthening horn is going to stay. And the horn is going to stay. And to complete the quest for authenticity, Tori wants to use the homemade darts not just as the target arrows, but also as the fired flyers. But that will only work if they fly straight and true.
So we just finished building our arrows EOLD style. My feeling is that when we fire these things, they're probably going to explode on impact because the wood isn't that strong.
Well, why not do a test fire?
Firing. In 3, 2, 1.
A bullseye it ain't.
Oh, wow. Well, it looked like a strong firing.
Yeah, they don't fire so straight, though.
Not so much.
How the hell did we get it at that angle? That's what I want to know.
It looked almost like it hit something on the way out.
Maybe it hit the fletching.
Yeah, it's possible.
The authentic arrow is about as accurate as a Scud missile. But because the team still wants to use them as both the splitter and the splittee, it's going with the point-blank test straight away. And Tori's in charge of the high-tech aiming system.